He says, it seems that if haskama mikol hachachamim hatalmidim, if all the students and the rabbi, or the rabbis and the students, agree, lagdim alehem ish mina yeshiva, put upon them, accept upon themselves one of the members of the yeshiva, of the school of Torah, v'yasimu tolaros, and they appoint him to be the head, ubilvad sheyeh zeh be'eretz Yisrael, if only in the case that this has to be under the condition, this is in Eretz Yisrael. All the rabbis and the scholars in Eretz Yisrael have to agree upon one person. Then then he will be this samuch, this anointed, not anointed, this appointed, this with the smicha, the ordination. Where it goes? Samuch v'yismochu acher, and he can now appoint, ordain someone else. If not, if you don't say that, then how can it be that the Sanhedrin will come back? And we pray, and he brings the prayer, and we pray that the Sanhedrin will come back, it will be restored. So how can it be if the chain has been broken? So that's it, we're doomed, that's the end of the smicha. But rather there's another option. It's the unbroken chain, or we'll see how this works, maybe, how this chain can be re-established and revealed retroactively that it wasn't really broken, we'll see. By this appointing of the nation now refocuses on this one person, and now he becomes this ordained, has this energy of the nation now upon him, and now he can pass it on and continue it, and this will be, like we said before, lifnei bo Mashiach, before the Mashiach comes. The Rambam, we saw this in another time, when we talked about the nation of Israel, that the nation is defined by the Jews in the land of Israel. Nation being not Jews all over the world, and are good Jews and holy Jews and different all over. But the vehicle that we spoke about that receives and expresses God's name in the world, that reveals this content, that is this conduit of the neshama, of God's supernal divine content that comes to the world in a body form, just like each of us has a soul that is the source and gives life to the body, the limb that is revealed through the body. So too there is a divine ideal of creation, call it the soul of creation, that is revealed in a body, in a real historical entity. And that entity is not just holy individuals all over the world, but a nation. God says, right into the prophet, Yeshayahu 43, Amzu yitzarti li tilati sepero. This nation have I created unto me to say my praise. I've created this nation that says my praise. That is the vocalization, the expression, the living embodiment of this divine ideal. And that is the nation. This nation is a body, has a body, the collective, not just, we're used to physical, one individual. I understand that there's a soul that is revealed through a body, but there's also a collective body that's made of a lot of people. But they constitute this national entity. That is the vehicle through which this neshama, this divine content, is revealed in the world. And that body is defined by the Jews in Eretz Yisrael. That's like the Cheskel 37, the dry bones prophecy. That the Jews outside the land, they have these dry, bones or scattered branches. They're branches of that tree. But the living tree, when the soul comes down into a healthy body, a unified body, not a body that is now scattered all over the hospital. One limb is on the heart and lung machine, the kidney machine, and the body's still there, but the neshama cannot be revealed, the rabbis say, except through a whole healthy, unified entity. So too, that unified entity is called the Jewish people, like we said yesterday in the Tefillah. Mincha, ata achad, v'shimcha achad, u'mikamcha Yisrael goy achad, ba'aretz. You are one, this transcending oneness of goodness. And your name is one, is revealed and expressed how you're called. In the nation that is one, where? Ba'aretz. And the rabbis say, we learned this, that's another topic, but that's just to give you the background. In the land of Israel. They are one in the land. That's where they express and live, manifest God's oneness, this totality of life. Not holy individuals. For that you don't have to be Jewish, to be a holy, good, nice, righteous person. But a nation that reveals this supernal, the divine, transcending content of totality of all of life, encompasses all of existence, and that is manifested in this world. That is the nation of Israel in the land of Israel. And that's significance of our being here, living here, and returning to here, to be part of this amazing process of the restoration of this body that now receives the neshama. The neshama now comes back to the world. That's the difference. Not just, like I said before, we live happily ever after, and it's nice to be in a land that we can defend ourselves. The world now has a neshama. The world now has its spiritual source that will ultimately give it and show it and infuse it with meaning and purpose and direction. But nevertheless, when we spoke about that the national definition, and the halachic definitions by the Jews in the land of Israel, the Rambam, in his commentary to the Mishnah in Bechorot chapter 4, he said, I've already explained to you the beginning of Sanhedrin, what we just read, the commentary to the Mishnah in Sanhedrin. I've already explained to you in Sanhedrin that the court is not called the real court except those that are samuch be'eretz Yisrael. Either bein sheyes samuch mipi samuch, either that they were ordained person from person, in other words, unbroken chain, or that all the bnei Eretz Yisrael, all the Jews of Israel, iskimu, they agreed to appoint upon them one head of the yeshiva. And now he explains a little bit more. How do they have the power to do so? How do they have that power to restore that chain if it was broken? Because the Jews in the land of Israel, they are called the nation. And God called them the whole nation. That's the whole nation. Even if there only be 10 Jews in the land of Israel, that is the whole nation. Again, not only the Jews, but this national, and here for this we'll see why this, defining here who is the nation, who is the vehicle that receives and expresses this divine content. Even if there are only 10 Jews, that is the umbilical cord, that is this focal point, the bridge that bridges the gap between the finite and the infinite. These 10 Jews are now keeping the world alive, make this divine connection. And you don't take into account the Jews outside the land. In order for this content, not that they're not Jews, but again for this expression of the Jewish nationhood, which, now let's say that there's a certain energy in the Jewish people that have this divine flow, influx of life, of goodness, it's God's creation, not our doing. It's not our philosophy. There's a creation. God created through the sun, there's energy that's revealed. In other words, through the Jewish people is revealed this spiritual, holy energy to the world, let's say. And that is, let's say, concentrated in the form of the Sanhedrin, the 71 rabbis that have this concentrated form of energy. I explained, I gave this metaphor of water. Water, we know, is made up of H2O molecules. And there's different forms that this H2O takes. When it's, the gaseous form, it's spread out upon the whole nation. This divine energy, this divine H2O. And then it can be frozen, and then it's water, then it can be frozen. Now, when then it's frozen, it takes this tangible form in the form of these 71 rabbis. They have now this concentrated form of the divine name that comes through the Sanhedrin. When they're disbanded, the energy is gone. What happens? We know that there's no loss of conservation of energy. We know the H2O is still there, but now when it gets hot and the ice freezes, the H2O is not gone, but now it takes a different form. It returns back to this gaseous form, let's say. In other words, this energy of the divine doesn't get lost. It now dissipates, or just take this metaphor, in other words, what it's worth, back into the nation at large. Now, that divine content still now rests in the nation. Right? The whole nation has this power. And therefore, when the nation now refreezes it, comes together in the land of Israel, where they are, that's where the energy is, this land of Israel, and the nation of Israel, that is this embodiment, contains this energy. They can now refreeze it, if you take, right? Can refocus it back to one person, and he now continues and has the chain. In other words, the chain isn't really broken. The chain took a different form. It was solid form. It became a gaseous form. We didn't see any Sanhedrin. We didn't have any rabbis that had this smicha, but the energy was still there. And now, when the nation comes back, they can now refocus it upon one person, refreeze it, and the energy is still there. Now it takes the form again of the restoration of the Sanhedrin. So that's what the Rambam says. Either it was passed on, this unbroken chain, or it goes through the agreement of all the Jews in the land of Israel. For they are the nation, and God called them the whole nation, for that's where the energy is. Not on good Jews and big rabbis outside the land. That's indeed true. We have giants. The Rambam was outside. Others But nevertheless, the nation that has this energy is in the land, and they are the whole nation, and therefore they have the power to refocus it. So that is what the Rambam says about the ability to restore.